The wind swept across the plains, carrying the scent of dust, sage, and something older, something that remembered before men came and carved fences into the earth. It was the kind of morning where the horizon burned gold, and the silence between gusts felt like prayer. Nora Calloway tightened the strap on her worn saddle and stared out at the broken fields ahead. The land stretched for miles, scarred from drought and years of neglect. Once, this had been her family's pride, a ranch that thrived with cattle, laughter, and life. Now it was quiet, the barns hollow and the fences leaning like tired soldiers. She took a deep breath, the kind that hurt a little, and climbed onto her horse. "Come on, Dusty," she whispered. "Let's see what's left." The horse snorted and started forward. A year ago, she'd left this place behind. After her father's death and her brother's sale of most of the herd, she'd gone east to teach at a schoolhouse. It was safe there, simple, quiet, predictable. But safety had felt like a cage. When she'd heard that the ranch was up for sale to pay debts, she'd ridden back. Alone. Determined to reclaim what she could of her family's legacy. But the truth hit her harder than the dry wind ever could. Some things can't be brought back. By the time she reached the north pasture, the sun was high. Her throat was dry, her spirit drier. That's when she saw him, a figure in the distance, bent near a fallen fence post, his hat low over his eyes. He straightened as she rode closer. He was tall, rough-edged, and carried himself like a man who'd been built by hard work and long days. "Can I help you?" she called. "Could ask you the same," he said, voice calm, steady. "This here's private land, or used to be." "It still is," she replied. "I'm the owner." He paused, studying her a moment. Didn't know the Calloways had kin left. "I'm what's left," she said. Something flickered behind his eyes. Recognition, maybe sorrow. "Name's Eli Turner. Been lookin' after the place since your brother sold the stock. Figured I'd keep the fences from fallin' too far. Well, looks like they fell anyway." He gave a faint smile. "Guess I ain't much of a miracle worker." "Neither am I," she said softly. The first days were slow. The land didn't care that she'd come back. The soil stayed dry, the wind stayed cruel, and the nights were colder than she remembered. Eli stayed on, helping without being asked. He fixed fences, cleared brush, and made the old barn roof hold through another round of high plains wind. He never talked much, but his silence wasn't empty. It was the kind that felt like steady ground. Sometimes, in the evening, they'd sit on the porch, watching the sun fade over the hills. She'd catch him glancing at the horizon like he was searching for something long lost. "You've been here a while," she said one night. "Long enough to know what this place used to be," he answered. "And now? Now it's just trying to remember." She nodded. "That makes two of us." One morning, she found him standing near the old well, rope coiled in his hand. "Water's gone near dry," he said. "Might be a spring deeper down, but it'll take work." "Then we work." He looked at her, the faintest trace of a smile on his face. "You don't quit easy, do you? Does it bother you?" "Not one bit," he said. "Just makes me think maybe this land's got a fighting chance." They spent the day digging, sweating under the unrelenting sun. Dust rose around them, coating skin and lungs alike. By evening, their hands were blistered and raw, but when Eli struck a deeper layer of stone, water finally trickled through, thin, clear, alive. Nora laughed, kneeling beside it, cupping her hands to drink. "It's not much," she said, "but it's something." He leaned on his shovel. "Funny thing about this land, it gives when it's ready. Not a moment before." She met his eyes. "Maybe people are like that too." He held her gaze for a long time, then nodded. "Maybe." As the weeks turned into months, life returned, slowly but surely. The corral filled with the sound of new horses, the fields grew small patches of green where there had been only dust, and Nora felt something in herself begin to mend. Still, she noticed how Eli sometimes disappeared at dusk, walking the ridge alone, carrying an old journal bound in cracked leather. One night, curiosity got the better of her. When he came back, she asked quietly, "That book, what is it?" He hesitated before answering. "Names. Folks I served with. Folks who didn't come back. She said nothing at first. Just listened to the wind hum through the grass. You were in the war? Yeah, he said, voice barely above the breeze. Left a lot of things behind I can't fix. She looked at him, then really looked. The way he carried his shoulders, the quiet heaviness in his eyes, it wasn't just from years of labor. It was from carrying ghosts. You can't fix what's gone, he said, staring toward the dark horizon. No, she whispered, maybe not. But I can build what's next. The words hung there like a promise. From that night on, something shifted between them, not romance at first, not even closeness. Just a quiet understanding. Two people trying to rebuild from the ruins of different wars. Together, they made the ranch breathe again. He taught her how to mend a saddle. She showed him how to plant vegetables in dry soil. They rode the fence lines in silence, the kind that said more than words ever could. Sometimes she'd catch him watching her as she worked, an unreadable softness in his eyes. She didn't ask what it meant. She didn't need to. Winter came early that year. The wind turned sharp and the sky hung low, heavy with snow. They worked harder than ever, stacking hay, sealing the barn, mending the roof. One evening, a storm rolled in fast. The horses panicked, the air electric with thunder. Nora ran into the yard, shouting against the wind, trying to lead them back inside. Lightning cracked close enough to shake the ground. A flash of movement, one of the gates swinging loose. She stumbled in the mud, struggling to close it when Eli's arms were suddenly there, steadying her. Get inside, he shouted. I can handle it. Not alone. He pulled her close, rain pelting their faces, the world around them all noise and motion. Together they dragged the gate shut, bolting it tight. When they finally ducked into the barn, soaked and shaking, neither spoke for a long moment. Then she laughed, tired, breathless, but alive. We did it. He looked at her, eyes full of something fierce and quiet. You always do. The storm roared outside, but inside, the world had gone still. Days later, when the sky cleared, the ranch stood tall again, stronger, steadier. The fence posts gleamed with frost, the air sharp and clean. Nora stood on the porch, watching the morning light stretch across the hills. Eli came up beside her, holding 2 mugs of coffee. You were right, he said simply. About what? You can't fix what's gone. But you sure can build what's next. She smiled, taking the cup from his hand. I think we both built this. He nodded. Guess we did. They stood there in silence, watching the land wake up, birds cutting through the pale sky, the first hints of green pushing through the snow. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't the past. But it was theirs. And that was enough. Spring returned like forgiveness. The grass grew high again, the herd strong. Travelers passed by the ridge road and looked down at the ranch below, whispering how it seemed to glow in the sunlight, how the land that once looked lost had somehow been reborn.